a lot of people say, trying hard. Your mind knows, man. It knows this guy's bullshitting me, man. This guy's lying. There's no truth behind it. When I was in Navy SEAL training, people go, how were you there for 18 months? The program was only 6 months long. You were in 3 hell weeks in 1 year. No one's ever done that. How did you do that? I talk about the new norm. When I lived in a $7 a month place when I was growing up for a short period of time, I loved it. I didn't know any different. That was my norm. Once we moved out of that place, we moved to a $236 a month place. I was like, I never want to go back to that little piece of shit. But if you go back to that $7 a month place and you realize this is where I live, this is all I got. Your mind says, Roger that, this is home. So when I was going through Navy SEAL training for 18 months and going back through all the hard parts over and over again, I told myself after the first time, I knew it was gonna be a long journey there. My body was breaking down. It was just how it was going on. I said, you know what, this is my new norm. So my mind said, it's like going to work. Like you go to work, you put your suit and tie on, I go into suffering every day. Every day, suffering, being broken, duct taping my feet up, stress fractures, shin splints, being broken. This is my new norm. And your mind says, if we're not broken, this ain't normal. We gotta be broken. So then your mind starts to get tougher and tougher and more callous. People go, how did you run on broken feet? Broken shins. My mind knew this is how we operate. We're in Navy SEAL training. This is what we are. I became hell. And that became my new norm. I gave myself no way out. There was nothing outside these walls of hell. Nothing. I love God, but for a short period of time, I became the devil because that was hell. I became the boss, the owner, the CEO of Navy SEAL training. That was my mindset. And that's how you get through things. You immerse yourself in wherever it is, and you become that. You become that and give yourself no way out. First big problem is that you have put a lot of people above you. Put no one above you. No one. I put God above me. Besides that, there's no one better than me. If you're playing Roger Federer, before you get on the court with Roger Federer, he's the best of all time, but you're also a professional tennis player, man. You're forgetting your own fucking resume. So once you get on the court, let's say it's a grand slam. It's 5 sets, hopefully, if you can go the distance with this guy. But before you even bounce the ball to serve it, you're down 2 sets. Because why? You look across and you're playing Roger Federer. But guess what? You hit a good shot on Roger Federer in the 3rd set. And you realize, I can play with this mother. But it's too late. You gave up 2 sets before you got on the court. You gotta stop giving up 2 sets before the game begins. And we do that already. We give up 2 sets before the game begins. So I learned that real quick. I saw these Navy SEALs before I became one. My God, they're better than me. I gave up 100 sets. And I had to work up to realize these are human beings with the same shit I have. Yeah, there's some people who run faster, swim better, but mentality is mentality. You're not gonna outwork me, so I'm gonna catch up somewhere. It was not easy to maintain a positive outlook and commitment to working and training upwards of 18 hours every day for 6 weeks. There is a reason smoke jumping is a young person's game. I arrived in great shape, but I was using my body in a way I hadn't in years, and the torment was unrelenting. I was also mentally worn down. This was not the most challenging training I'd been in, but it was an intense struggle because I was a lot older and no longer who I used to be. A lot of people let a realization like that limit their future. They lose their edge and scale back their ambitions and expectations to protect themselves. They retire and quit pushing themselves into uncomfortable environments and challenging situations. Much of that has to do with the age passed down. There's a pass down for everything in life. When it comes to age, we seem to share a common misperception of how we should feel or where we should be based on a number, when sometimes the problem isn't chronological. Often it isn't Father Time that is fucking you up, but his brother, Father Fatigue. They say that you can't beat Father Time, and that may be true, but you can damn sure make his brother feel your resistance. And if you are willing to outlast the headwinds of fatigue, minute by minute, hour by hour, day after day, you can at least meet Father Time face to face and negotiate with him. Whenever I felt too tired or sore to get out of bed, I kept my eyes on the horizon and reminded myself that smoke jumper training is temporary. Some mornings it actually felt good to be so fucked up, because that was a sign that I was still willing to turn myself inside out to look for that blue deck line and do something that spoke to my soul. True, I was not the same David Goggins. I was a much better version. I used to think you had to be the best at everything to be great and to be a strong leader. And that's not the case. The valiant motherfucker is the person who faces long odds yet continues to try. When those young studs saw me running in the snow before work, it fucked with them. And when word got out that this supposedly bigger than big 47-year-old savage was stuffing his limp dick hands in the snow and placing them back on the letdown line for hours, hunting a physiological adaptation, it showed them what it looks like to refuse to be denied, what it means to be never finished. It reminded them that this opportunity was special and that they probably had a hell of a lot more to give too. I made the letdown test day, not by much, but I made it. I dressed in under 3 minutes too. And while I didn't land or roll like a gymnast or ballerina, I proved my consistency and capability to the instructors and to Tom Ryan, both founder of the North Peace Smoke Jumpers, and graduated ground school. I can see it doesn't come naturally, Tom told me later. Like me, he survived a tough childhood and was drifting as a young man until he found smoke jumping. At 27, after a health scare, he launched his own unit and built a culture centered on respect and excellence. None of it was easy or came naturally to him either, which is exactly why I wanted to be there. It's good you're not a natural, said Tom. I can see you, Will, and I respect that. A few days later, in early May, we were rallied for a mock-up drill. We suited up in our armored gear, which included that Kevlar jumpsuit as well as a helmet with a grate protecting our faces, and walked to the airstrip. Our first jump was scheduled for the following morning, weather depending, and our instructors wanted us to squeeze into the Twin Otter, the smaller of the two aircraft in the unit. The point of a mock-up is to get familiar with the aircraft and where and when to clip into the static line. This bird looked well used. The tang of jet fuel wafted down the aisle and crawled into my sinuses as we loaded up, and that stirred something in me. As I sat down, my pulse quickened, my skin rippled with anticipation, but it was just a drill, and after a briefing, we disembarked into a truck. That's when the instructor asked us to do it one more time. As I reboarded the plane, I sensed that this wasn't another drill, and then spotted the pilot make for the cockpit door. They were shotgunning us. The second we were seated, the pilot fired his propellers without giving us any time to think or back out. 2 minutes later, we were airborne and climbing to 1,500 feet. When we reached altitude, the designated spotter tossed out his paper streamers to estimate wind speed. I watched him unfurl in the thermals as he pointed out DZ. It was a bluebird day. The wind was light at 3 to 5 knots, and we arced in long loops. One by one, we stood up, made our way to the static line, got on our knees, and clipped in. I was one of the last to jump and was calm, if uncertain, as I stuck my pin into the line and locked it. This is it, I thought. This is where the leg breaks and the dream dies. That was the plain truth, but I took comfort in getting this far. At least I get one jump in, and if it was my first and last, I better make it sing. The spotter gave me the wind drift, pointed out the DZ, and listed the hazards. The plane banked toward my exit point, and I stopped it off. Am I clear? We were traveling at 90 knots, but my pulse was surprisingly smooth as I kicked one leg out the open door. Get ready, he said. Despite the chill, sweat tickled the back of my neck as time slowed way down, until the moment the spotter slapped my back. Push 1,000, I yelled and used both hands to push out the door and into the sky on a static line for the first time in 14 years. 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, there is no ripcord to pull on static line jumps. Unless you need to trigger your reserve, that is, and it only took about 5 seconds for my canopy to open with a violent tug. Check 1,000, I looked up and inspected my canopy for holes or twists. My suspensor lines were mildly twisted, but I recognized it, pulled my risers, kicked my legs as if riding a bicycle, and rotated out in a blink. The chute filled out, and I slowed down even more. It steered like a barge. There was an eerie delay when I toggled left or right, but I read the wind well and maneuvered into it, while felt at a rate of about 17.5 feet per second. That feels pretty fast as the ground rushes towards you, but I wasn't looking down. I held steady, eyes out front, and tapped the ground with my feet and knees together. I felt a bolt of pain in my left shin as I rolled right, but it didn't last. like hell. An instructor ran over, breathless yet reasonably impressed. He offered a few pointers and a hand, and as I got to my feet, I found that I could not stop smiling. It wasn't that evil Goggins smile either. This one was wide and natural and well-earned. For the next 2 weeks, as we kept jumping, the DZs got tighter and tighter. There were no more open fields, just tiny divots in the woods. A lot of the trees had been ravaged by beetles, but those trunks still managed to stand sentinel like a zombie forest. From above, they looked like spikes. Those weren't the only hazards. There were boulders, rivers, lakes, bogs, downed trees, and thorny shrubs. And there were plenty of live evergreens trying to reach out and grab us too. On most jumps, at least one of our classmates got hung up. One caught the top of a 90-foot conifer and it barely held him. He was lucky because once his chute lost air, it was worthless, and the fall would have killed him. There were times when the DZ was hard to make out from the bird and the wind was variable as fuck. The spotter's wind drift intel was usually outdated within minutes, so if you weren't one of the first to jump, you'd have to figure it out on your 90-second drop. That made it all the more difficult to avoid every hazard as I searched for the orange Zecks laid out by the instructors. I never got caught in a tree, but I clipped one with my shoulder on one jump, got spun around in a shifty wind, and landed hard and fast on another. It gave the instructors a scare, but I was glad it happened because, once again, my leg absorbed the impact. And from then on, I knew for sure that it was good to go. My body was healing up. The bruises had faded for the most part, and my intercostal muscles released. I could breathe free and clear by the final days of rookie training, and everything had slowed down for me. I read the wind well, steered with more confidence, zoomed closer to that X early on, and started hitting my mark with precision. There was no pomp and circumstance come graduation, which was another sign I was exactly where I was supposed to be. A couple of the instructors said a few words, then handed us our uniforms, and that was that. All but one candidate graduated from our class, which spoke to how strong my class was and how much we came together as a team. HC looked stoked as fuck, and PB was beaming. She'd evolved from not being able to jump off a 20-foot platform to becoming one of the very best jumpers in our rookie class. I was proud of myself too, because it'd been just 10.5 months since the surgery that turned my smoke jumper aspirations into mission impossible. It had taken every ounce of endurance, dedication, and faith I had to make it. Now that I had, while it felt satisfying, I was old enough and had done enough hardcore jobs to know something that the happy young rooks did not. This shit had just begun. I'd seen how perilous and serious this job was. Each jump was high risk, and while we'd all been challenged to our deaths, everything we had done to that point had been a mere training ground. In training, you can miss the X, you can get caught in trees. Now that we were operational, every detail had to be dialed in. On a fire, there is no time to dick around getting out of trees or hiking out of the bush in search of your crew while they wait on you. All the other rookies were smiling that afternoon. I was focused on the fight to come. That mentality to always be looking for the next mission was a product of experience, but not only military experience. I've been discovering, developing, refining, and adapting that mindset my entire life. Many people snicker or smirk in disbelief when they watch me take on a new challenge, as if to say, why would anybody do that? The implication is that I'm doing it to get noticed, to fill up on attaboys or for a damn payday. Motherfucker, before you knew me, I was a Cub Scout, a fucking Webelo, and a Boy Scout. Before you knew me, I was in Civil Air Patrol and Junior ROTC. Then I joined the Air Force, I joined the Navy, I went to Ranger School, I went to Delta Selection, and now I am a North Peace smoke jumper operating from a remote airfield in northern British Columbia. Do you think this shit just ends? I repeat, this is who the fuck I am.